Hey guys, so I'm going to talk to you today about this bad letter that we all just went through and worked with. I worked on trying to display my image on here with my screen recording and I can't get it to work, so I'll keep working on it. Hopefully I'll be able to get that going before this semester is over with. I spend a great deal of my time working on technology now, so I don't know. I decided to just give up for tonight. Anyway, there are several issues with this letter. I gave each one of you personal feedback in regards to how to use this letter and your rewrite of this letter to help you come up with ideas for what you want to focus on with your writing improvement plan or the WIP. Keep in mind that these ideas or suggestions that I gave you are simply that. They're suggestions. They're not requirements by any means. So if you choose not to listen to them or use them for your WIP, don't worry, I'm not going to downgrade you or anything like that. I am going to go through this letter and just point out some basic issues that everybody really should have caught as they went through. Obviously, the date is an issue. The idea of adding a comma here is an issue. You needed a comma here because this is a compound sentence. And a lot of you, as for what I expected, honestly, struggled with punctuating compound and complex sentences correctly. If I gave you feedback to focus on those, like I said, you don't have to, but I would highly recommend it. Compound and complex sentences are something that's used and tested on the STAR test. So your understanding of them is actually very important to your students. Even if your students are young, the sooner they pick up on that information, the better off they'll be as they get older, especially the better off their teachers will be. If you're planning on teaching at a middle school and high school level, and I gave you a remark about complex sentences or compound sentences, it is almost essential that you address that issue because you will be tested on in the STAR. So the sooner that you pick up on how to fix that issue, the much better off both you and your students will be. Some of this that's obvious. Nobody missed this. Nobody missed the your. Most of you, well, actually all of you, now that I think about it, caught the misspelling for environment. A big one that a lot of people struggled with, this section right here needed a transition of some kind. So you leave off saying, it is my goal to get all students a good education in a fun environment, and then all of a sudden you just jump. Math can be a challenge for so many students, or for some many, wow, that is really bad. For so many students, you need a transition here. Something like in light of this, or as such, therefore, and those are just basic transitions. They're transition words. So if I told you to start using transitions, I highly recommend it. This is a problem. I would recommend combining these two sentences, but a lot of people combined it and then added in a comma right here. If you did that, once again, complex compound sentence issues. Good is a problem. I didn't have a single student accurately use good. So good is an adjective and well is an adverb. Now, yeah, there's a whole nother problem here in the fact that this is not a complete sentence. This is a fragment right here, and these two need to be combined. Yes, but you really should not say, well, I was good at that. That's actually not grammatically correct. What you want to do is flip it and say, I did well at that. Well is an adverb, meaning it modifies the verb. So if you say did well, those two go together. Did good, they don't actually go together. Good is an adjective. The only sense that good is used in another way is when it is used to describe how someone feels. And that is kind of a slang version of good that has been accepted grammatically and by Oxford throughout the years. Because if you guys didn't know this, Oxford is the pinnacle, well, maybe Oxford and Purdue, of how to write grammatically correct. So you wouldn't actually say, I did good. You would say, I did well. You wouldn't say she was good at that. You would say she did well at math. That's how you would say that. Now, a lot of you, I gave an example. It's like saying he was a good player versus he played well. If the word good or well is being used to modify that verb, like are or did, or an action verb like played, then that's what you want to use. You want to use well. But if you're modifying a noun, then you use good. She was a good player. You're describing what type of player she was. You wouldn't use good to describe how they did something. That would be well. So a lot of you struggle with this. I would highly recommend looking into it. But it's important. A few of you struggled with the whole apostrophe stuff. And of course, you would want a comma here. For you all, this is just terrible. I can't even, I don't even know. To get involved and stay on top of your children's reading assignments. So a lot of you, I made remarks in this whole little section, not necessarily about grammar, but about tone. And I definitely want to address that. Tone is a serious, serious issue that you should definitely look at. How many times did I say definitely? That would be another issue. That's redundancy. But you want to look at the idea of tone. You do not want to come across to a parent that you are being condescending in any way. So many of you said things like, you need to get involved with your children's reading assignments. If you can't help your child, this whole statement right here, if you can't help your child, guys, this just, I mean, listen to how it sounds. If you can't help your child, okay, really? If, as a parent, myself, and if I was a parent reading this, tone-wise, this comes across very, very negatively. It is condescending, meaning that you are looking down on them educationally, and it does not reach out to them. I did have a couple of students, and I made remarks to those of you who did it, that really did well with the tone. You actually changed this whole little section right in here to reach out to the parent, and you definitely want to do that. The purpose of this letter is to reach the parents. So by doing things like saying, well, if you can't help your kid, or it's your job to get involved. I mean, this kind of stuff comes across very negatively and harsh. So you want to reword it where it is more of a suggestion and more in a positive tone. Maybe something like, maybe not, it's important for parents to get involved. Maybe say something like, as we know, parents will surely want to be highly involved in their students' educational endeavors. We request that you pay close attention to their reading and homework, or something of that nature. Sorry, that's kind of off the fly in my brain. If I was writing it, it might flow a little bit better. Several of you, I actually gave examples of how you could improve this. I would definitely do away with this whole statement right here. If you cannot help your child, you don't need to say that. You could easily change it by saying something like, if your child needs further assistance, okay, more assistance, more one-on-one time, or even go so far as to say, as we are here to help, we provide further assistance, something of that nature. You want to be open and positive. Anything that's super negative like this, you want to avoid. Now, let me say, I don't think that anybody did this on purpose. So if you did get a message saying that you need to adjust the tone, please don't take it personally. I am very well aware that this was not intended at all. I don't think that anybody intended to be rude to their parents, hypothetical parents, in any way. It's just one of those things that it's a very good lesson for you guys as future and upcoming teachers. The tone is super important. Even though this letter has massive grammar issues, I will say that to have this negative tone is much more impactful than to have bad grammar. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really is, because as a parent, you may not realize this is bad grammar. You may have some parents that don't even recognize the issues with this, but they will recognize the idea that you're saying they can't help their kid. So keep in mind, tone is very, very important. Obviously, there are issues here that everybody caught. I didn't have anybody have issues with that kind of stuff. Everybody caught these issues. I did have one person use the semicolon, and I believe it was just she, used it well. So that's props to you if you're that person. The use of a semicolon, for most people, they don't know how to use it. So good job. As for the rest of it, I will say the other big issue, let me look at my list and see if there's anything I missed. Tone, of course. Oh, their versus his and her. Many people, as a matter of fact, I don't think I had a single student catch this. And it could just be simply that you were reading it and you didn't catch it. So when you say a student may not know their actual ability, when you are looking at their, if you have a singular noun, like you say student, then you need a singular pronoun, his or her. Of course, as a writer, there are several ways you can write this. You can literally write the phrase his or her, or you can write his/her. Either one of them works. You can't use their. The reason why is because there is plural. And so there, whoops, meant to put dashes. There connects the idea of students. If you say students, then sure, you can use there all day long. But if you have one student, then you need to go with his or her. One thing I will say, something I suggested, I only actually suggested it to one student, but if I was the teacher writing this letter, one, hopefully I would have better grammar, and two, I would actually write 2 letters. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to completely rewrite both letters. All I would do is for the first letter, I would use male pronouns throughout. Okay, so instead of saying the students, I would literally say your student. And as I went through, I would say his or him. For the second letter, I would use female pronouns throughout. Now, of course, the easy way to do this is you simply copy and paste the letter and you replace all the male pronouns with female pronouns. Now, you definitely want to read it closely, do close reading so that you don't have an accidental male pronoun in there. But what this does is that it personalizes the letter. So, oh, goodness gracious, y'all did not see that. Personalizes the letter. So when you are looking at this, because you're trying to contact or reach out or become close with that parent, the more personalization that you can achieve, the better off you are. If they feel as though this letter is specifically addressed to them, you are so much better off. It is time consuming, 100%. But I will say for elementary teachers, it's not nearly as time consuming as it would be for a middle school or high school teacher. So I honestly feel like you guys almost have no excuse. I know that's terrible to say, but I really kind of do. And I would even go so far as this whole thing with dear parents. I would change this to dear how would I say it? To dear parent / guardian, maybe parents. Whoops. If I can get my fingers to work, and I would put the student's name. The more personalization that you can get, the better off you are. And guys, I know this is a lot if you are a teacher of high school, but now I'm not going to go through the whole process of showing you how to do this, but there is actually a way. I've done it before. It's been many years where you can create a spreadsheet in Excel See if I can find my Excel program. Sorry, guys. In Excel, which this is Excel, if you don't know what it is, hopefully you do, where you can put in names here, and then you can, if I can get this to delete, don't save, and you can put an insert right here where it inserts the name for every letter. I've done it before. It's been many years since I've done it, which also shows you how old school that technology is, but I have done it. Yes, this is something you would need to Google and research, but it's worth it. It's worth the time and effort because it shows that you care and that you want to give that individualized, personalized response. The very last thing that I'm going to talk to you about that really, really bothered me because I don't know what's going on with why I can't go down here. I guess because I'm recording. Because no one did it has to do with the title or the closing remarks. So it said thank you, and I've hit return so many times that you can't see her name, and it said Miss Tanner. All right, you are going for professionalism all the way. So two things. When you are writing a professional letter, a formal letter, the closing remarks need to be on the right-hand side. You are actually also supposed to put enough spacing that you can sign in this area right here because a true professional letter would be signed. I would recommend not doing all this. I mean, that's a lot, right? Even though it is what you would do professionally. I would recommend actually picking a font, which I know you can't see this because it doesn't show this on screen record, but I'll just pick the first one that's close. Picking a font that looks like it would fit signature and signing your name. If I can get it to work. Come on. Huh. I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. And signing your name in that regard. Now, obviously, you would go back to Times New Roman for the or whatever font you were using for the remainder of the paper, but of the letter. But I would recommend that. Another big issue that I saw that people were not doing. No one did actually. I had one person come close. She did include the contact info. You need to include your credentials down here. For instance, I am the department head. English department. Oh my goodness. I teach English 1. Well, I actually teach pre-AP. I've taught regular English 1 for many years too, though. Pre-AP English 1. At a time period, I taught camp English 1. Actually, I might reword that and put English 1 camp. I don't anymore, but I did for many years. This is actually the first year I've not taught that. And then, of course, did I just spell English wrong? No, I didn't. Then, of course, I would put my contact information. So I want them to know that they can reach me through lmerriman@mpisd.net. Now, including your information as far as your phone number, I wouldn't do that. I would include the school's number. Even if you're okay with them having your cell number, I wouldn't do that, okay? It's really a little bit too personal, and especially when you're going with that whole professionalism aspect. This information needs to be included. You are a professional, and you need to include that. Even if you don't have all these titles and all this stuff that you taught, heck, at the very least, you will be a science teacher or an English teacher, and you teach English 1 or you teach 8th grade English. And if you wanted to make it a little bit more, prestigious, you could put English 1 MPHS. I might actually spell that out. Mount Pleasant High School. Okay, if you want to go a little bit further, you could also include the Mount Pleasant High School address. But this information needs to be included. I mean, for goodness sakes, guys, the very last thing that you told them is you can call or email me, and then you gave them no. Now, you did say that was in the syllabus, right? Or did you? Oh, okay. Some of you did. Some of you were like, that's in the syllabus. In the original letter, she doesn't even say that that's in the syllabus. She just says, hey, call or email me. You need to include this information. You need to make sure that at the end of all your stuff, you have this. And not just for this letter. This needs to be included in your emails. This needs to be included in everything that you do, and, have that professional aspect to it. Anyway, guys, I hope this helps. Hopefully, I will get my camera situation worked out so that you can see more than just my screen. And if you have any questions, please let me know. We'll talk more and work more throughout the semester.